So the Woka show on TV has a scene where a main character goes into a boba shop, looks at an Asian worker, starts speaking to them in perfect Mandarin, and he's like, "I'm not Chinese." That is an interesting play, Marvel. Welcome to Voice of the Fat Mantis, and my review of She-Hulk Episode 5. The title escapes me, but I am going to say I really enjoyed this episode. Even at its most cringy moments, there was something endearing and fun, and the cringe moments were just small. I will say that there's only been a few scenes that I would say they have perfected the CGI. There's still those uncanny valley, particularly when she looks at the camera. There was a She-Hulk moment where she looks at the camera, and I wanted to say, "Don't look at me! Don't look at me!" But I am saying it was an enjoyable time. Now, this continues the plot thread left over from last episode, which is unlike She-Hulk to do that, where she is being sued by Titania for the trademark name of She-Hulk. Titania has made a line of faux beauty products, or should I say, they're real beauty products, but we all know beauty products don't really work, right? And it just kind of makes fun of fashionistas, Instagram models, people hacking bad beauty things, even down to the commercial Titania had was basically a parody of real life and the way these kind of hacksters that you see all over the place on social media sell their nonsense. Now, before I get any further into this episode, I am going to need you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel so we can see more of the Fat Mantis interviews, analysis, and reviews of nerd culture, and of course, more coverage on the She-Hulk. So I think what was really, really, really endearing of this episode, and I'm not saying anything about Tatiana Maslany, love her, even in this role, but I gotta say that Ginger Gonzaga did such a good job. She's just very heartwarming. She's a heartwarming woman. She's very, I was very much into it, so I like what I saw there. And I think that her taking up some of the episode's weight really made it feel like this was more of an ensemble cast instead of Tatiana Maslany being responsible for everything from drama to comedy, which she doesn't always pull off. So I'm glad that was shared. Now, there were a few cringe moments, particularly when Ginger, I believe her character's name is Nikki Ramos, and another lawyer are looking for their the drip broker's superhero outfit designer. I don't know what to call one of those things. And they're wearing their Avengers gear, and they're down in some basement, and they're trying to get in there. And there was just kind of like very childish silliness going on, but that is typical for this show. But I gotta say that very most cringe moment did not take up a lot. Now, which brings us to our character, Luke. They go to a lot of trouble to find this fashion designer for superheroes. And it turns out to be a black fashionista designer, almost a archetype, or should I say a stereotype of what we think a fashion designer is. And he's playing up the idea of how silly superhero costumes are with that of the fashion designer. And the sad thing is, we have seen this all over the place. There's nothing new going on in this situation. It is literally a ripoff of The Incredibles' Edna Mode. Now, Edna Mode from The Incredibles did this shtick so much better. I just don't understand why people continue to do this. Even in DC, there's a character called the Crime Tailor, and he actually makes the outfits and weapons for the Rogues Gallery coming out of Flash villains. And he is literally that, and Edna's making fun of him. And then we've got another permutation, and I gotta say they're not getting bad. I don't hate Luke, I'm just saying we've been there, done that. Luke ends up just giving us the same hacky jokes that we expect. However, at the very end, he does hint to a character that we're gonna see in the future. And that is none other than Daredevil. His yellow helmet is in a box that he's sealing off. And what's funny is last week, I heard a rumor that Daredevil was going to appear, and I was ready for it. And I said, you know what? Why don't I make the cover art for next week's video prematurely? And finally, I get to make cover art that doesn't have the She-Hulk on it. So I made an entire image of Daredevil with a big old 5 on it for representing episode 5. And I was like, there you go, man. I took initiative and I saved time and energy for the future so I won't rush next week. This mother does not show up in the episode. I'm like, you're really making us earn this Daredevil appearance. That's one of 2 disappointments from this episode that actually kind of tick you off. The first one is that Daredevil doesn't even show up, and everyone thought this was going to be the episode when he shows up. And then the second one was, for some reason, there's no end credit scene. Now, I got to say, it's possible that this episode was fun and enjoyable and a good time, despite the incompetence of the people who run the show. They have had a good trend going, and the trend is you have end credit scenes. Unlike the other Marvel shows where they don't always have an end credit scene, it's funny that we have an end credit scene. Let's face it, even if you hate watching the show, you know you stuck around for that scene. I know you did. And that's actually an enjoyable part. And I was sitting there waiting, and I was like, there must be some mistake. Did I fast forward by accident? What's going on? And it just irritates you. You literally did it for no reason, because it takes almost no energy to do an end credit scene from She-Hulk. They're not like end credit scenes that you see in the Marvel movies. They're not thought-provocative, or they don't do Easter eggs for characters. They don't set up future plot lines. They're just extra gags. There's no reason not to have one. They could have literally put any gag that they put in the episode, cut 30 seconds out of one of them, and just put it at the end. I'm baffled as to the level of incompetence which would choose them not to do an end credit scene. Someone could have filmed it in their basement on an 80s camcorder. Way to be lazy, Marvel. And although it seems like I'm taking a big dump on this episode, I gotta say I really enjoyed it. I felt that the whole courtroom shenanigans where She-Hulk has to literally call to the stand ex-guys she went out with on singular Tinder dates and humiliate herself while she gets to hear them criticize her dates, criticize her as a human, and put her down. Even the man that she bagged, the man that she slept with, even said, I do not like Jennifer Walters. She's not my thing. But I loved She-Hulk. And you could just feel the pain. Even though their horrible CGI made this cartoon, it felt like it was Looney Tunes, have horribly emoting. She doesn't need to emote in this scene. She does not have to have a tear in her eye. I get it. I felt the pain of She-Hulk, and I thought that was pretty powerful. And I'm just like, poor girl. Poor girl. By the way, I am hoping that when Daredevil shows up, I'm hoping there's some sort of romance. And I'm not sure if this is comic book accurate, but I don't care at this point. That would be pretty awesome if they banged. But moving back onto the episodes, I really enjoyed it. And actually, I know I talk a lot of smack about Jamila, whatever. I've deleted her last name from my memory banks. But I will say that her role, actually seeing Titania actually act, she really was channeling a completely different character. She really was this obnoxious influencer. And I was like, okay. I'm really liking this. Now, we see a return of Todd, the guy that was revealed by accident through the incompetent credit scenes that he is going to end up hulking out, which means he is the scientist who hired the Wrecking Crew, and he's going to eventually get She-Hulk's blood in some way. Now, we see him return, and he's continuing to just be benign, and he's hovering around. But if you haven't caught on, if you didn't catch on to the credit thing from last week, it's clear he's up to no good. He's going to a law firm for no reason and stuff like that. It's clear that he has some level of importance. For a show that doesn't have any ongoing plots, this must be some attempt at one. I think that not only is he going to Hulk out, I believe he's going to create a formula that's going to eventually give Titania a power boost. And so in the comics, Titania is not so easily sunned up by She-Hulk. This one barely seems like she has super strength or the ability to maintain in the superhero, or should I say superhuman community. I have a feeling that she's going to get a boost from this whole thing. Now, if she gets additional powers from the blood of She-Hulk, that would not only be comics accurate, but it would reference someone else. There's another reference going on here. That would be Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom is the person who gave Titania super strength and invulnerability from a chemical he created from She-Hulk blood. That is actually comics accurate. So I doubt that this gentleman is Doctor Doom, but is it possible he works for Doctor Doom? He's a henchman of Doctor Doom, and that maybe at the end of the series it will reveal this as a Easter egg. Now, after all, She-Hulk so far has failed in a lot of ways. Often it fails at comedy, often it fails at CGI, but one thing it always does give us are those hard-hitting cameos and Marvel references, which I do appreciate. I like that every week you're going to be like, I'm going to at least get a reference to some superhero. And I'm into it. Ultimately, I give this is like the best score ever. I'm gonna give this episode an A-. I had very few real complaints. There were nitpicks and issues, but this one did entertain me thoroughly, and I was thoroughly invested. I didn't even look at my cell phone once. Well, the real question, my friends, is what did you think about it? Please let me know down in the comments. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to Voice of the Fat Mantis for more She-Hulk reviews, analysis, and shenanigans. Hopefully I can use that cover next week. But I gotta change that 5 to a 6. Anyway, ciao for now.